I'd like to introduce you to Pastor George. He's come all the way from Morley to speak. I've heard his testimony, it's absolutely tremendous.
Yeah.
You know, we're really listening to what God's been doing in people's lives, the goodness of God. I'd like you to hand over to George.
Come on, you
Yorkshire, by gum, lad. That knows, lad. Yeah, so, Irish from Ireland, Belfast. Yeah, so I'm in good company. Yeah. So I'm going to thank you, Ian, for this opportunity to share my testimony. And of course, this is just a summary of what I've been through. My testimony is a great big bag of rubbish. My testimony. So, whoa. Yeah.
He's not good upside down.
Yeah. So, I don't normally give my testimony. I'm so embarrassed about my testimony. It's not something I'm asked for, is to give a testimony, so I don't know what way it's going to come out in this setting as this morning or this afternoon. So I was brought up in Belfast. I was brought up in a Christian home. I was one of the ones that was forced to go to church as a little kid. I went to a local Baptist church, Sunday school, and we did go to the Whitewell church that was mentioned a bit earlier on in that last testimony. But I rebelled against Christianity and against God. I'd seen Christians as weak, very weak. I didn't see them as overcomers and people full of joy and love and victory. I did see that in some people, I have to say that, but in the majority of people in church when I was a kid, there was a lot of sorrows. Hope there's no sorrows in here, in this church, but there's a lot of sorrows, no sad people allowed.
Amen.
In church, because we got the victory and we've got the joy of the Lord is our. Praise God. Thank you. And His mercies are new every morning. Praise you, God. Yeah, so I can keep. I don't want to go into a preach or anything like that. So I was brought up in that environment, and I went to school. Now I wasn't stupid, but I was educationally challenged, is what you would say. You know. So I didn't like school. I hated everything about school. I was one of these kids with trouble. I had trouble on my forehead, and I had sawdust for brains as a young kid. I thought it was more exciting to go burgle houses, damage cars, steal cars. So as a young kid, I started all that activity. I had this hatred for people I didn't even know, called Catholics, because I was brought up as a Protestant. And I hated these guys, and I never seen them. I don't know who they were. You know, who are these Catholics? The IRA. But I was brainwashed that I actually hate people I never even met. Because there was a big wall dividing us in Belfast. Never met them. I was a little kid. There was a lot of troubles on in Belfast. But really, that's brainwashing. Yeah. Don't be brainwashed. I was brainwashed as I grew up. And then eventually I got into more and more trouble. I ended up actually in Crumlin Road Prison when I was 15 years of age, because one of the houses I burgled was a policeman's house, and he left his gun, 9mm Walther, and his 12 rounds, 2 magazines of the ammunition, and I got it, and I brought it to school with me, because I was a big guy with this Walther, you know, and I was hoping no teacher would have a go at me when I was in school, because who knows, I don't think I would have used it, but I don't know for sure. Because that's the way I was. I never processed stuff in my head. I never thought of consequences of action, and I never listened to anyone ever said to me. I just done my own thing, and I was quite crazy, and I was always into trouble as a youngster. So I ended up getting caught, getting arrested. I ended up in Borstal for 2 years, and I did the full 2 years in Borstal when I was 16. Didn't get no good behaviour because I just messed about, even in Borstal. When I got out of Borstal, I got into drink, into alcohol, and I didn't have any decent drugs, no Bob Marley. So what I did was, I got glue. Anyone glue sniffing? Yeah, so I got the Evo stick in the bag, and that was my high, and I had some bad trips on it. And it did glue all my brain cells together, so I don't have a lot of brain cells now. I've got like 2. If I rub them, I might get them working this morning. Life was a mess. I was a total failure. So I kept doing more crimes. I did get into the paramilitary organisation in Northern Ireland because I was getting to know people, getting a reputation. And I ended up in Crumlin Road Prison, and for some robberies. I got into robberies, some more serious crime. And I was there when we smashed up the prison. I actually got onto the roof of the prison, and that was really exciting because life's so boring, just being in a pad every day. So I was on the roof of the prison, and after that, I got 5.5 years, and I went to the Maze prison after that. And we're all protesting, there was hunger strikes, we were all fighting each other. It was a very violent place to be in. And I'd done the full 5.5 years because we lost all remission when we were in the Maze prison. And after that, I got out of prison, and I thought, when I was in prison, I met people who were high up in the paramilitary organisations, and so I knew that my next step, if I had stayed in Northern Ireland for sure, for definite, was I was going to start using the gun, shooting people, and probably commit murder. I have not murdered anyone, just letting you know that. But I was on that path, that road to murder. So I decided to come to England and start a new life and run away, basically, from the people who I was involved in the paramilitaries with. So I came to England. England was really good, but English people don't like Irish people. Didn't like me, and I was a bit of a culture shock, because a lot of the English would blame the IRA, and to the English people, we're all IRA. If you're Irish, you're IRA. Where I'm from Ireland, but you could not tell me I'm from Ireland, because I'm Northern Ireland, I'm British. You know, so for me, I wasn't Irish. So that's how stupid I've been in my past, because of course I'm Irish. I'm from the, Ireland, Northern Ireland. So I came over here, and I went to nightclubs, and then people picked up my accent, which was a lot stronger than what it is now. We're talking over 20 years ago. And people started picking fights with me and arguing with me. So I got into fights. I ended up in Morley prison a few times for fighting, because my history is violence and a lot of criminal activity. I've been in Young Offenders Centre, been in McGilligan prison. I did the rounds around Northern Ireland and all the various prisons, and everywhere where criminals ended up. Any criminals in here? Keep your hands down. No. Yeah. So I don't like labelling people. I do not like labelling people, but I was going to say is a criminal, but it's probably not right. I was a criminal, and that was my life. And a thief, and all the rest of it. So I came to England, got into fights, ended up in Morley prison. The prisons over here are a lot different from Northern Ireland, because in Northern Ireland, the paramilitaries run the prisons, and we call them screws. We didn't call them boss. Over here they were calling them boss. Never hear me calling them boss. So I got into a bit of trouble in Morley prison, and then I got out, got into more trouble, went to nightclubs. I was heavy into alcohol. And the only Lord I believed in was the landlord. He was my saviour. And I would sit in a pub until I fell off the bar stool and cracked my head. I was a binge drinker. I drank all the time, every day. I'd done what I had to do to get the alcohol, go to the pub. Went to a nightclub, got into another fight, and I glassed somebody in a nightclub in the face. So I got arrested for that. And I got over 3 years for that incident. So I ended up back in Morley, and then I went to Lancaster prison. Anyone been to Lancaster? Lovely place. The Bells, they've got like a big church right next to the prison there that they used to have. I've told it's closed now, that prison. And so it was a whole new experience. I really enjoyed Lancaster prison. I'm not telling you to go there, but the food was all right. It was quite good in Lancaster prison. So I did that. And then I got out of Lancaster prison, And I thought to myself, this isn't working out for me in England. And my life's going nowhere. I was about 26 at the time. And I thought, the first girl I see and I meet, I'm going to move in with her, and I'm going to start up a family. So, and it was literally, I went out drinking, and the first girl I seen, I got a relationship with her. She wasn't pretty. Wasn't pretty. And I wasn't in love. There was no love whatsoever with this girl. So I moved in with her, and I stayed with her for about 5 years, maybe nearly 6 years. And I have 4 children to this woman. She's called Tina. Hope none of you know her. But anyway, so, you know. So I have 4 children. I got Ryan, and he's 27 now, so it was 27 years ago. Basically, I'm 55 years of age at the minute. Got Ryan. Ryan went off tracks because I had to see them every single week since the start of my new life, which I'll come to. But Ryan, he's in Rampton High Security Mental Hospital. I go visit him every week. We've got Bradley. Bradley's been in a mental health hospital in Wakefield. I went and visited him. I visit these kids every week, and I have done all the time since we. I'll come to that in a minute. I have Kyle. Now, Kyle, my other son, committed suicide 2 years ago. He had mental health problems, and he suffered with depression. So that's Kyle. I've got Kirsty, who's been in prison herself, actually, but since she's had Lucas, she's been okay. Lucas is my 6-year-old grandson, who's come to live with us at the minute because the social services have taken Lucas from his mother, Kirsty, my daughter, and she is pregnant again. So it's not going well for her, and she's went off track again at the minute. I just have to throw that in. And then, so I got a relationship with this woman, Tina, 4 children, but I was heavy in the alcohol, really heavy. I was really stupid. I was crazy. You couldn't tell me what to do. I had no sense. I gambled. Any gamblers? Keep your hand down here. Okay, so I gambled everything, drunk everything, got into all sorts of stuff. I wasn't caught for everything that I've done in my life. So I've done a lot of stuff out there, and a lot of it I have been caught for and prosecuted. So it didn't work out well in that relationship. We could have guessed that. It wouldn't work well. So she kicked me out and threw me out because of my drinking and my gambling and some other things as well. So I ended up homeless on the streets of Leeds, which is the only place I knew where to go. So I lived on the streets for quite a while. And then I got into the Salvation Army hostel in Leeds. They kept me, which I'm forever grateful for them. And then to keep warm during the day, I used to go into the Leeds library. Now, I left school at 14 or so because of all my criminal activity. And I went into, Borstal and places like that. So I went into the library and I started to read to keep warm in the reference library in Leeds. I also played chess, and I learned how to play chess. And I was pretty good at it. So a lot of the businessmen used to come out of their offices, and I used to challenge them to chess. I'll play you for £1, and then they'd say no, 5 or 10, because I beat them. And I realised I'm quite good at playing chess, and I got it. So when I was at school, I was terrible at school. But what I've learned since then, through how my brain works, I work in pictures. If you get me interested in something, I'll do really well at it. But I need to be interested. And I wasn't interested in school. It might help you with your kids. Get them interested. Every kid is good at something. I joined a chess club, and I went on and I played some competition chess. So anyway, I was doing the best I could. And reading self-help books at Leeds Library, and I came across a lot of different teaching on self-help, and it's what you believe. Everyone can be successful. Everyone here, I could be successful even though I was on the streets at that time. I then got a bed sit in Beeston, which is quite a bad area in Leeds at that time. Bed sit city, a lot of drug addicts, a lot of crime. So I ended up there, And I did a soul-searching thing for a whole week at Beeston. I was in a scruffy bedsit. I'd been thrown out of living with Tina for a year, and I had the same set of clothes on. She burnt everything I had, so I had these clothes on for a whole year, and I was going into depression. I had low self-esteem, and I wasn't bothered about myself. I couldn't care less. It's just alcohol. I was really bad on the drink. So when I was in the bed sit, I soul searched. Anyone soul search? You still here or gone home? Yeah. So I soul searched, and I sort of thought, right, the results of my life are absolutely terrible. I am a loser with a capital L. Everything I've done's failed. My whole life's been a mess. I've no friends, no family. They left me a long time ago. And so I was feeling sorry for myself, you could probably say, in this bedsit. And I started praying because I remembered that I went to church when I was a kid. And I remembered that all the Christians I've known have been okay in life. They might not be super happy and super joyful and super glad, but they were stable people and they generally done okay. So I was in this bedsit, and that's when I had the conversation with God. And I thought, right, God, I will admit, I've ruined my life. I haven't listened. I've been really bad. I surrender. And when I was in the bedsit, it was over a week period, I sort of surrendered to God and said, God, if you're really there, can you help me? If you're really there, can you change my life? Because, you know, I'm just going to end up dead on drugs, because I did dabble with drugs as well a little bit. So I went through that week, and then I felt like I've never felt before in that bedsit. I felt like I was serious and I meant business. So I woke up Sunday morning, it was lashing outside. Now I still had the same clothes on, and all I got in my head was go to church. I went, well, what church? I didn't even really, well, I must have known it was Sunday. Didn't know what time church was on, but I did remember there was a church at the corner of the street in Beeston, about a mile away from me. And I kept persisting in my head, go to church, go to church. And I thought, all right, I'll go down, it's probably not on. So I walked down to church exactly when the church was about to start. It was full, but there was one seat right at the front in this church. Right? It was one of them churches. Nobody sits in the front, but there was one seat in the front. People hate sitting in front in church. I went in the church and I got a good welcome. It was bummed. It was a Church of the Nazarene in Beeston. I had never heard of the Church of the Nazarene. To me, it was like a cult or something. I don't know who they were. You know, Nazis or something, maybe. I don't know. So I walked in, and I wasn't prepared for this. There was one of them with an aisle down the middle, and when I walked in, there was literally steam coming off my clothes because it was bucketing down outside. I was drenched wet through, and coming into the warm atmosphere, there was steam and mist coming off me. And I thought, well, I'm not bothered. I've never been bothered about what people think. Get over it. As Christians, I'm just throwing that out there. Get over it. Don't care about people. I never cared when I lived for the devil, when I wasn't saved. I don't care now. A lot of Christians care about what people think. You know, get over it. Turn to your neighbour and say, get over it. Get over it. Yeah, don't worry about that. You know, hoorah. So, anyway, so I come to church and I sat there. Now, my big thing with God is this. I'll be totally honest. I was honest with God. Nobody's going to love me. Nobody's going to accept me. I'm full of tattoos. I had tattoos on my hands at that point. I've had some laser treatment since then. And I stink. I smelt. I was smelly. So I came in, sat at the front, and I just thought, well, the quicker it's over and the quicker I'm out of here, the better for me as a person, because I know it's not going to work. And I always said, nobody trusts me. You wouldn't trust me. If I walked into the pub and you were there, you'd leave your pint, the numpties in, and you'd move out, you'd walk away. And that's the way I was. I was trouble. I was a numpty. And I was the sort of person the pub cleared when I walked into it. Women used to grab their handbags And that's in church as well, when I first went to church actually. They still do it now sometimes, if they don't know I'm a pastor. I've seen me sitting beside women in church, and they've like, their bags only, to grab their bags, because they don't know I'm a pastor, and I'm not like that at the minute. Anyway, maybe I will be at some point. But so I come into church and I sat there, and I could not believe my ears, because the minister of that church used to be a policeman in Northern Ireland. Right? Now, me and the police don't mingle. I used to go to sleep thinking what I was going to do to policemen. Out of a lot of violence against policemen at that time, and prison officers and so forth, and in fact, anyone in authority, I would sort of argue with you and not like you. And if I could do you harm, I would do you harm. Because I had a chip on my shoulder. I hated just anyone in authority, including teachers even. So I've seen everything really negative in my life. So I sat at the front, and it wasn't the pastor who was speaking that morning. They had a visitor called David Hurst, and he was giving his testimony just on that morning. So he got up, he was full of tattoos, more than me. He was also a minister in the Church of the Nazarene. He also started in a bedsit in Beeston. He was also on drugs. He was also a criminal. And he started telling all this stuff. Now, he didn't know, but I sat there thinking, that's my argument against God. Christians don't trust me. I'll never be a minister. I'll never be a pastor. My face never fits and my behaviour. And here was a guy up there, and he was talking about his past, his criminal past, drug addict, etc., etc. And then God said to me, what I've done for him, I can do for you. Amen. I sat in front and I went, well, don't do this, God. Do not do this. I could not believe what I was hearing. Everything I fought for, that guy was just saying how God loved him and how God changed his life, and he was a minister in the Church of the Nazarene. So I had no argument. And at the end of the service, as we do most of the time, we'll call an altar call. Now in the Church of Nazarene, they will have like an altar where you can kneel at the front. It's traditional type of church they've got. Because in the Church of Nazarene, they used to be the ones waving the hankies and dancing and having joy. And people come up weeping and wailing and crying and kneeling at the altar. So they kept that. It's not always Church of Nazarene nowadays. They're not known for their joy and happiness at the minute, all the time. So I sat there and he did the altar call. Now, I'm not one for crying. I'm not one for feelings. I'd rather punch you than cry, basically at that time. Not that it was hard, but it was trouble. So I wasn't the hardest guy in the prison when I was in it. And I felt tears coming down my face. And I thought, what is that? Tears. I was like, whoa. I was crying, and I felt God saying to me, he said at first, the guy that gave me his testimony said at first, behold, I stand at the door and knock. Anyone who opens the door of their heart, obviously, and welcomes me in, I will come in. Amen. And have fellowship with them, come in and live there. And he was quoting this, and it hit me that I had to open up my heart to God, and everything would be okay in my life. So I was shaking, I was crying, I looked a mess, I smelt a mess, my life was a mess. Mentally I was a mess, mentally in here, really screwed up. But I felt it's now or never. I either have to get out, or I'll never. This is just perfect. That guy's testimony just was perfect for me. So I got up out of my seat when he called, and I went to the altar crying. I was crying, I was shaking. I thought, this is real. This is real. God is real. Because how could I go to church and that happen to me? So when a woman came up, kneeled with me, prayed with me, that was my future mother-in-law that came up to me, actually, watching our story. So I prayed. When I was at the altar, I prayed, God, I want you to get me a girl that I marry, and I need it quick. Say quick. God does work quick sometimes, you know. Immediately is in the Bible, now and again you'll come across it. So I thought, I need a life because I can't survive on my own. And then we went for tea and coffee afterwards, And this girl came up to me and spoke to me. And I thought, I heard God saying, that's the one, that's her. Right? So I thought, right, so that's the one, is it? Oh, she's not bad looking. Yeah. She was younger than me, and I thought, really? Yeah. So I thought, okay, I'll go with the flow. Sometimes God does things, and you got to go with the flow with what God's doing. So I sat there, and at the end, I told her I was in a bed sitting beasting. I told her that I was serious about God, and would she meet me during the week? She says, yes. I'll meet you in Leeds City Centre. So it was perfect, where I played chess outside the library. Now, I didn't know it, but she was double careful with me, because she told me later she was really unsure about me, and she could tell I was like a rebel, I was like crazy. She could tell that. So she was careful to meet me with people in the city centre. I met her on the Wednesday, and between that Sunday and the Wednesday, I sort of kept praying. I believed in my bed sit. Thought, God, are you really doing this? Is this real? Can you keep me? Because, you know, if something goes wrong, I was so weak, I'd go back to the drink or do something else criminal. So I met her on the Wednesday. I got my gyro. God is our gyro. Yeah. So I got my gyro, and I got talking to her. Now, I had one set of clothes on, and it was the hottest day of the year in Leeds, and I had like a lumber jacket on. And I didn't want her to see my tattoo, so I didn't take my jacket off, because I didn't want to put her off. I says, I'll take you to McDonald's. This girl had never been to McDonald's then, or KFC or anything. She comes from like a middle class type of family, and she wouldn't eat a burger or KFC or nothing like that. But she went with me to McDonald's, and I used my gyro to buy her meal. And I sat and I told her enough, not everything, but I told her about my kids, broken relationship, my prison, my life, disaster life. Never worked in my life or anything like that, as you probably guess. And she looked at me, and she didn't run. She didn't run. She stayed there, and she believed me. She says, okay. So we went out, and I walked around Leeds City Centre with her, and we sat down on some steps. And I said to her, I believe that you're going to be my wife. I believe you're going to be my wife. Would you marry me? First date. Not even a date. First time. And this was a sensible girl in church all her life. You know? And she says, well, my dad will kill me for first off there. And I had socks on, a purple sock and a brown sock. They weren't matching or anything like that. And I can remember looking down thinking, I'm a mess. So she said, she didn't say no, and that's what she said to me. And I says, will you go out with me? And she says, yes, she'd go out with me. So I thought, well, there must be a God up there, because up to that point, I thought if God exists, he really hates me. If there's anyone up there, he's got it in for me. So I'm starting to see now things are changing in my life. So I went to church following Sunday, and she said to me, well, you need to get a job. I've never worked in my life. I'm unemployable because I hate authority. You tell me what to do something and you won't like my answer to what you're telling me to do at that time. So I thought, okay. So I heard the message of holiness, and holiness worked for me. And the way they explained holiness teaching, do some of you know holiness teaching? I'm sure you do as Christians. It was basically explained to me that God wants you to be the best person that you can be. God gives you vision into your life. He gives you a destiny, but you do your bit. So it's like not words only, but those who do my will. So it was explained to me that I had to do something as a Christian. I do my bit, God does his bit. The bit I can't do, God will do that. So I got a job in a bakery. It was the lowest paid job you could probably get, and I had to get up 4 o'clock in the morning, walk into Leeds City Centre and work at this bakery. So I did that, and I went out with Claire, in case you're wondering, is my wife. No, I'm actually it's 22 years I'm married this month, so it's good. Give me a clap for that. You don't know what I I've been through with Claire, you know, so she's not here. I can say, yeah, don't tell her she was that. Yeah, but Claire's really, she's not one that you would hate or you'd argue with or anything. She's she's been in church all her life. She's a very strong Christian. She won't put up with any messing, and God used her to sort me out and make me the person that I am today. So I do bless her for sticking with me and working through all my issues. I've had loads of issues, and she's helped me to work through them, prayed for me, and reassured me. It's nice to have a wife that reassures you as well. So I got a job, and then from the job, because I used to steal loads of cars in Belfast. I was what's called a joyrider then, as a hobby. I used to steal some cars for the paramilitaries as well, motorbikes. But I'd never had a license. So we bought a car, and I went in from a driving test. Now, I believe in the power of vision. I've always believed in that, because my life's totally changed now. And I prayed, I will pass my driving test first time. I'll pass it. So I did my theory test. I passed that. Done my driving test, and I did pass it first time, my driving test, and that was really hard to do because I had a lot of bad habits. Being a joyrider, I was a getaway driver at robberies and stuff, you know. So I had to learn all the highway code and things like that. So I did that, and then I saved up. I was getting something like £4 an hour, I think it was at them time in them days. And I saved up enough money to buy my wife an engagement ring. It was over 700 quid. She don't know that, I've told you that. So 700 quid I saved from that £4 an hour. And I went, and it must have been about 6-month period. And I kneeled down in a park in Leeds, and I asked her to make me the happiest man alive, and would she marry me? And she's accepted. Give her the engagement ring, and that made me the proudest guy. I was so proud. I actually had bought something, engagement ring. Instead of stealing it, I really would. So she said yeah, and within a year we were married. So that was pretty quick as well. So we were in love, married, and it was the first person in church that God picked. Where the last person, it was the first person out of prison that I picked. So God can do things, and God can pick the girl for you. She was there waiting for me all them years when I was in prison. She was there waiting on me for that one day when I walked in. We've got 2 kids now. I got a 15-year-old Nathan, amazing kid, really good kids. And we got a 20-year-old Jordan. And he's an amazing kid, no trouble, never had to smack them once in my life. It's not because my wife smacked them either. You know, they're just brilliant kids, really, really good kids. We explain things to them properly, and they understand things. And then about 10 years ago, where was I changed jobs, decorating, because I was always pretty good at decorating, and I learned the trade, done it for about 5 years, working for firms and decorating. And then I decided to go out on my own and start my own business as a decorator. So I did that, bought the fan, got registered as a company, and started up decorating. I ended up employing people. Now that was a vision I had, that I'd own my own business and I would actually employ people in the business. So we did that, and it was growing quite good. We bought our own house, and you know, it's a pretty decent house what we've got my own cars and stuff. I always wanted a Mercedes car. That was one of the things I always wanted. God will give you the desires of your heart. Give me a Mercedes car. I actually was able to go and buy a Mercedes car. I used that for a few years as well. So things were happening in my life. I did write a book about my story. Sold about 3,500 copies of that book. But I didn't like the book, because I'll tell you now, there was lies in it. And it was meant to be an autobiography. You know, and I had lies, things that wasn't real in the book. Now I thought you could do that. And I thought, well, it'll help somebody, I'll add that bit in. That'll help somebody, I'll add that bit in. You know, and then somebody said, is all this true? Everything in the book? I said, no, not everything. You know, if I've embellished, I've made a few things that might help somebody. Oh, it's not an autobiography then. So I stopped selling it, and I've not done it since then. that book, but was helping people. People were actually getting saved through the book at that point. So I did things like that. I was still a bit off the rails, you would say, as a Christian. I wasn't disciplined, but I was teaching. I was getting some good teaching. So I did that, and then about 10 years ago, I was doing my decorating business, I had people working for me, and it was starting to boom. I was thinking of taking on more people. I was doing very little hands-on decorating now because I had workers doing that. And I was thinking, this is going really good, making money now. I've got thousands in the bank and things that I didn't steal. That was through this business. People work for you. I shouldn't say this, really, I should. But if you're in a horrible job and you're working and it's like really bad and you're unhappy, I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it, quit your job. God will look after you, and there's something else you can do. Don't be miserable, Christian. I'll throw it out there because I quit my job and did it. It worked okay for me with my past. So I was doing that, and then the same voice in my head that was in that bed sit came to me and said, I want you to go to the Bible college. I was thinking, and it stayed all day. That was a Thursday, and I thought, okay, I'll go and have a look. And then the next day on the Friday, are we all right for time? Stop. Good bit. The next day was a Friday, and it kept with me all day. I thought I'll go through to Manchester, because Church of Nazarene have a college in Manchester. So I went through to have a look. Say have a look. Bad. So the day I went to that Bible college was the last day for full-time students to be enrolled. I talked to the dean of the college, and he says, you know, you could be a full-time student. You could sign up today, because I'm the dean and I'm going to let you in. I'll let you in Bible college today, and you can do a degree in theology at college. So I thought, for a start, my wife will kill me, because I haven't told her yet. You mean, he says, you can start Monday full-time, and this is your last chance. You sign here. And I felt like God said, sign. I said, well, I've got people working for me. We've got a mortgage. I've got a wife. We've got children. There's no way I could sign that piece of paper. And you know, mugs. I got mug written here. So I get over and I says, how are we going to get paid? You get student loans and things, and be okay. I thought, okay then. And he was telling me that he believed it was God telling him to let me in. So I said, okay. So I signed on the Friday, got stamped, got photographed for this university course. And then I was driving down the M62 and I started shaking because I realised what I'd just done. Start Monday. What about my business? What about my wife's going to kill me? The car was shaking, so I pulled off into the service station. And I was shaking, thinking, did I really just sign up? I do not know what an essay is. I have not done a GCSE. I've not done no work in school. I never passed anything in school. Nothing. Now, you can't get a bit of paper from school where I've got a tick on it or anything like that. It was terrible at school. So I stopped for a while, went home. She did go mad at me. Who's going to watch the kids? Childminding. How's it all going to work? How are we going to get money? How are we going to pay the mortgage and so forth? What are you going to do with your business? You got loads of work on. Look, got few workers. What's going to happen with my workers that are working for me? So I said, I don't know. I'm blaming the dean because the dean said everything was going to be okay and just sign. So I believed him and I signed it. So we got over it. We made a few plans. My wife was going to quit her job, start her own business, and she could do it with the kids. And you know, I went back on the Monday for that theology course degree, and God looked after us. We did go to a food bank. Praise God. Anyone been to a food bank? Yeah. We went to a food bank, got some food, I'll be honest with you. Shocks a few people. But you do what you have to do, and we got some really good food at a food bank. So we did that, started a business, created enough money, got a student loan through to support us. The degree was 3 years, a degree, yeah. And I thought, I can't do 3 years. And I agreed with my wife, I'll do 2 years. I'll do the degree in 2 years and get on with it and get a move on and just trust God. So I did it. So I agreed that. I got more essays, more modules to do, as degrees are cut into modules. So I did that over a 2-year period and graduated with that a bit quicker than normal. And then I got called into the ministry as a pastor. Now, God spoke to me and he says, I do not want you to be like a normal pastor.
Hallelujah.
To me, amen to that.
Amen.
Yeah, we've got enough. They're like come off conveyor belts, pastors from the college, and they're all like the same. You know, I'm a pastor in prim and proper. I do not do prim and proper church, by the way. So everything that I thought was wrong about church, I felt God was saying to me, fix it. All right, I'll give you a go. You do a church the way you wanted a church to be. Because I didn't like churches, we didn't get on. So, and God actually said to me, will you stand up in church and will you be a pastor that says what I tell you to say? And I said, don't they do that? He said, you'll be surprised. You know, they keep people happy, they don't want to upset people. You know, don't rock the boat. Anyone come across a pastor like that? Don't rock the boat. Don't get out on that water. That we can sing about it. Just don't walk on the water, and just keep everyone happy. So I said yeah to God. So I've been pastor now for about 7 years, full time at Morley Church. I've seen signs and wonders. I've seen people get saved, people being delivered, because our church is a 7-day-a-week church. Not 7-day Adventist, I nearly said that. 7-day-a-week church.
Amen.
We got a full-time cafe with employed people there and some volunteers. We got a full-time charity shop at the church in Morley. It's quite a large building that God has given me. And it was going to close. There was 15 people at it. When I first met David, there was about 15 people at it. Most of them were elderly people. And it was earmarked to close this church when God gave me it. In fact, you close your ears, David, because when David came to church, God said to me, the blessing of church growth is on your life, is on David's life. Because I was thinking, how am I going to grow a church? And that's what God said to me. And I've kept to that promise with David. And we've seen it. It's a church of over 50 now. So God has grown the church over this last 3 years I've been there. So we've got the charity shop, we've got Mothers in Touch a few times a week and different activities. We've got a food bank of our own. Amen. So if I'm hungry, I know where I'm going now, to the food bank. I've never raided it. I've raided the kids' tuck shop, youth group tuck shop. All pastors raid that. That's a bad thing. But not the food bank. So the church is going good. The blessing and the anointing of God's on it. We are Pentecostal, speak in tongues. Yeah. And I believe in miracles. I believe in healing. Amen. I believe in breaking addiction. Amen. I believe that chains shall be broken and shackles shall be gone and released from people's lives. So we do projects. We do a Kyle project in memory of my son who committed suicide. We got a group coming to the Kyle project, self-help sort of talk about group, and most of them have come to church through that. So I'm just saying, there's a lot of people with depression, loneliness in society, low self-esteem. They've got all sorts of drama in their lives, and they've got things that they can't beat, phobias in their lives. As Christians, we have the answer. As Christians, we know God can come through for them. We know that they shall rise up like eagles. Those that and shall walk and not faint and not be weary, who rely on the Lord. So I really believe in this stuff, because I know what God's done for my life. So just to cap it off there, my testimony is a contrast between what I used to be. You only got a summary of it all. What I used to be, the loser, the bad guy, the guy on prison roofs, the guy in the Maze prison, and I took part in all the violence and all the protests in prison. and Borstal and different things, to surrendering at the front of church, on the front seat. I surrendered to God, and then you get the contrast. God give me vision for my life. God changed my life completely around. God has blessed me. God has anointed me. I would never speak in front of people. I would never do that. That was a phobia I had. I had a phobia of flying on a plane and a shoot when we used to go on holidays. On the plane, I would never get on a plane. I took a panic attack a few times on a plane. God has taken away that phobia. I can fly now, okay. He take away all my addictions, all my fear. I am free. Amen. Jesus, totally free. I don't care what people. When I took on the church and I changed the singing, I changed the chairs, then I ripped up the carpet. You laughed at that, and I thought, oh, if the church people can see me now, cutting up carpet for the coffee shop across. People wrote me nasty letters. I'm not fit to be a pastor. I'm a criminal. I'm not to be trusted. They were leaving the church. All the tithers leaving, and it's a big building, and it costs about, we work it out, it's I actually forget now, but it's about £1,000 a month to run the church, all the electric, the insurances and all the different things, a lot of money. And they were going to leave us with no money. They were putting pressure on me. I got phone calls. Now, I'm from Northern Ireland. I'm used to terrorists. I'm used to people doing protection rackets. And these church people were trying to get me frightened. And all I did was rip their letters up and put it in the bin. That's all I did. I'm not bothered. So what? I'm a bother. I don't care, because I know what God did for me. And I stuck with God and the vision. I had a lot of people coming against me from church people. They didn't get the vision. They were leaving the church, and they were trying to vote me out of the church at that time. But God told me, He'd called me, He would stick with me, He would give me His strength to go through it all. And all I had to do was keep believing and keep trusting in God. And that's all I did. I just listened to God, not the people in the church. So God's brought us through all that. We renamed the church as New Life and Joy in the church. Praise the Lord, amen. We'll put the Pentecostal back, the Penty back and Pentecostal in the church. We've got joy, we've got happiness. We do Mexican waves. I am happy, I am joyful, I love life, I am victorious, I am an overcomer, I am free, I am happy. I am excited, I am super joyful, super glad. So we do that every week, that's normal for us now. And we dance about. I do the, with the kids. You ever see that? Yeah, do all that dancing. Because I just want church to be happy. I just want us to be a witness to the community. I want the church filled with people getting saved, healed, delivered and blessed. I want Christians to be blessed and to feel it. I want Christians to feel that you're born again. Amen. Life totally changed. So my testimony's that, coming from that, God healed me, surrendered, I'm all done with my life, and God came into my heart. God changed me, God gave me vision, and now I live for God. Grow in this church, and this is the first time I give a testimony. It must be in 20 years, or the best part of 20 years since I've done it. So maybe God's got a new season for me. I don't know. So give God a clap.